Hi there guys, welcome to Box Bread. There's a really interesting fight happening on the weekend in my opinion, and it's between Michel Soro and Hector Saldivia. The fight's happening in France, so it's very much a home fight for Soro. This is for the WBA International Super Welterweight title, and the holder of the full world title is Erislandy Lara, so I guess that the winner of this potentially has a shot at Lara. So let's get into the fight. Firstly, let's look at Hector Saldivia. Advantages I see, or strengths for him, really come down to power, possible aggression, and you could say experience, but that may be questionable. So really in this fight, they're really Saldivia's attributes that he needs to use to full effect. He's the type of guy who does have the power to change a fight. And I think in this fight he would be better off trying to use to get up close and use quite a lot of aggression and try and not to give Soro the time. And like most fighters, use the experience he's built up over the years. I wouldn't say he's the most experienced fighter, but I'm trying to clutch at something really to give Saldivia in this fight, because disadvantages. The 3 losses he's had, he's been stopped. So this guy can get caught. This guy can be hurt himself. So he has power. He can hurt guys, but also he can be hurt himself. He doesn't travel well. He's had 3 losses. The last 2 of those were in the UK and the US. The UK fight, of course, he was stopped by Kell Brook. He drops his hands when he's feinted at. So initially, Saldivia, what he looks like when he's fighting is that he has a good guard. It looks decent, but then when guys start feinting at him, he very quickly drops them. And the other problem he has is that even though he looks like he has a good guard up, even with his guard up, in my opinion, he's vulnerable to a right hand. So I've watched tapes and seen guys get through to him with the right hand, even with his guard up. They're coming around the side of his guard. It's kind of a false guard in a way at times. And that is a big vulnerability in this fight, particularly as far as I'm concerned. Also, he can be controlled by a good jab, in my opinion. The problem as I'll mention a bit later, for Soro is that he neglects the jab quite a lot. So that's Saldivia. My quick mention on him. Now, Michel Soro. This guy last time out, this is at super welterweight, but he is actually the European middleweight champion. He went out last time out and won the title. And if you look at him, he's athletic, he's well built, but he's not well built to the point where it's bodybuilder type, where you think it's going to affect his stamina. This guy's just in great shape. So you can see if he's gonna, it's not a massive jump, but if he's able to go to middleweight and win a European title, I don't think really that the size would be an issue for him at this weight. He's strong at the weight. His last 5 fights that he's won have all come by stoppage, so he's been showing some power, particularly as of late. He won his last 2 fights in the US and Italy, so if he can travel like that, then now he has home advantage. He's coming back to France, where he usually fights, and he's going to have a lot of support for this fight. His only loss was a decision loss in the Ukraine, and he drew a fight in the US. So every fight he's had in France, he's won. And I think, again, like I mentioned in the Josh Warrington fight this weekend, I think home advantage may tell. I think it's going to be a real bonus for Soro. He's got good movement. He's very much, I would say, predominantly an outside fighter. He doesn't waste many punches. This guy is pretty accurate. But like I said, the main concern for me would be his volume, his punch output. He does tend to favour quality over quantity. Having said that, because the fight's in France and it's a home fight for him, I think that's something, if it did go the distance, that he could get away with. It's something that, if you're fighting at home, if you use good quality punches, and as I'm going to mention now, use a good reactionary defense, both inside and outside. This guy can defend. He can defend from the outside. He kind of jumps back. He's very reactionary, and he's got pretty good reflexes. But he has been pushed back up against the ropes. If you watch him against Tapia a couple of fights ago, he was pushed back against the ropes, and he seemed really very comfortable there. The one thing about this guy Soro I've been very impressed with is he always seems in control. He doesn't ever seem to panic. He just seems to know where he's at. He knows the situation. He reads the situation, and he's comfortable there. He was up against the ropes. He had his guard up. He's blocking shots, and then he's kind of slipping punches and picking you off. He's slipping out when he wants to. It just seemed like he was in full control. That he could move, he could call the shots. And although it looks like, yes, the guy is getting punches in, he's being aggressive, it looks like Soro can just dictate what's happening. And I think that's really going to play into his hands in this fight against a guy like Saldivia, who I think really doesn't match this guy for boxing skill and for natural ability, really. What else? This guy, Soro, is an extremely good combination puncher. When this guy puts together combinations, they're accurate. There's a wide variety of punches thrown in there all together. And he seems to pick just the right time when his guy is really vulnerable and he's just not going to be able to defend against it. And I think Saldivia is just tailor-made in that department in terms of what I said with getting through with the right hand. But not only that, he'll just set you up. This is the thing. Soro, like I said, neglects the jab, which would really, really just put the icing on the cake in this fight. Because when he does use the jab, he's got a brilliant jab straight right. This is reminiscent, of Klitschko. If you look at him at the beginning of when he stopped Tapia, the jab straight right comes in. He's got power, as I've said, to hurt you, but it's just perfectly timed, perfectly placed, very accurate, and then he shows a killer instinct. He goes wild. He wants to get you out of there. Once he gets you hurt, gets you out of there. Maybe in a similar fashion to a Luke Campbell, who is quite patient, very much similar, very patient, but when he catches you and he sees blood, then he goes in for the kill. He doesn't let you off the hook. Okay? This is the type of guy Soro is. It's effortless. Okay? I've been really, really rather impressed with this guy. So another thing is, if this is inside, and this is why I say Saldivia needs to really be aggressive and kind of close the distance in this one, because when he's inside, Soro really neglects the volume. I've seen him inside with guys, and he just doesn't throw at all. He's just blocking punches with his arms. Like I said, he's in control, but he's not throwing anything, so he's losing points there. Okay, the other guy is looking like the aggressor. The other guy is looking like he's putting the points on the board. So at distance, I think that Soro is just, yes, Saldivia has power. He can punch. But I think that Soro's just going to be a bit too reactionary and a bit too good at defense, because he does keep his guard up as well. I think he's got too good a defense. And he's able to counter. He's able to pick his shots. And I think that if given too much time, he can just simply outbox Saldivia with consummate ease. And even then, later in the fight, if Saldivia begins to tire, then Soro can just pick his moment and start coming through with a jab straight right, or he can pick combinations out. So at least if Saldivia gives himself a chance inside, he can close the gap, not give Soro less time to think, try and mix it up a bit more, try to make it look closer, and he can take advantage of Soro's lack of volume. Because if he's standing off and he's not connecting, then it doesn't matter how much Soro throws. He'll actually look bad because Soro's making him miss. At least if he's inside and gives himself a chance, then he might look like the aggressor. He might look like the guy who's throwing volume. But either way, I just think that Soro's just a better fighter, just a better all-round boxer. I think he's got him on the inside or the outside, and I'm actually going to think that Soro's going to stop this guy. I think it's another stoppage loss for Saldivia. I think I'll say 7th round. I think that Soro will be his usual patient self. He'll stand on the outside, he'll work this guy out, and he'll pick his moments, pick his shots. And when he starts throwing shots, when he starts landing these accurate combinations, I think Saldivia is going to really feel the power. I think he's going to end up just getting through to this guy and hurting him, and I think it's going to get stopped. So you always give a guy like Saldivia a puncher's chance. But he's fought predominantly in Argentina. His opposition's not been that good, and when he's come up against good opposition abroad, he's always failed. He's usually failed. He's very seldom fought outside and won. I think I looked for his record. I think I noticed one time he fought in the Virgin Islands or something, and he won, which is technically outside of his zone. But when he's come over and fought against better opposition, in Europe or the other states, he's come up short. And I really think he's just going to come up short here. You have the crowd against him. He's going up against a very good fighter. And if I'm looking towards the future, what would I rather see, Lara against Saldivia or Lara against Soro? I'd quite like to see Lara against Soro. And I think that this would be the more likely outcome. The Soro progresses. So guys, give it a watch. Let me know what you think of Soro. I think he's a really good fighter. I think he has a lot to offer. Not necessarily saying he would beat Lara. That's another time. That's a call for another day. But I think that in this fight, he's definitely got to beat this guy. And I'm picking Michel Soro by stoppage. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. This is Boxbed. I'm out.